Oh my God, you came back. I was starting to think you left me here all by myself. Where did you go? Man, you've been gone for like 5 years. You can't just leave a guy sitting here. You know, that's kind of rude. So, anyways, you want to watch some cartoons? In my your absence, not my absence, I've been here the whole time. I've had a lot of time to think about what I want my first video back to be. And what we're gonna watch today, I've been wanting to make a video about for a really, really long time. Really long. Today we're watching Captain Planet. Specifically, we're watching the drug overdose episode of Captain Planet. Now, I think maybe a lot of the Gen Zs in the audience, like myself, because I just turned 29 for the 8th time, maybe aren't super familiar with Captain Planet. Even myself, I'm not super familiar with Captain Planet. I didn't watch Captain Planet when I was a kid. It wasn't like a cartoon that cool people watched. I want to say, is that rude? Is it rude to say that? Captain Planet was what your teacher put on when they had a hangover and they didn't feel like teaching the class. It wasn't something you went home from school and watched. I don't think, at least me. How do you explain Captain Planet? Captain Planet is the lamest superhero that exists, I guess. I don't know. What does he even do? What are Captain Planet's powers? There's 5 kids, and each kid has a ring that controls an element. Earth, fire, wind, water, heart. And I guess when they combine their powers, they all touch the tips together, then Captain Planet appears and does something. It's mostly a big PSA about being good to the environment and stuff, like don't litter. What else do they tell you? Don't start forest fires. That's probably one.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. That's this episode. There's also an AIDS episode. When people talk about out-of-pocket episodes of Captain Planet, they usually talk about the AIDS episode. I'm sure other people have made videos about that. They probably made videos about this too. I didn't check first. I don't really care. Ultimately, I focus group with some of my friends, all my video thumbnail ideas. And when I mentioned that the thumbnail for this video was for the drug overdose episode of Captain Planet, that seemed to pique some people's curiosity. So here we are, the drug overdose episode of Captain Planet. So we start in Washington, D.C. There's a new kid in town, and he immediately does drugs. That's the very first thing he does. He runs down the street straight to an alley with a drug dealer in it, and he buys drugs. It takes 0 effort to sway this child. He's really into it.
Not so fast. This will cost you.
This is the guy who sells him drugs. I forget his name. Scum. Verminous Scum. I think he looks like Splinter from the Ninja Turtles, but when he's like halfway through his transition from dude to rat, like he's a dude, but he has a rat tail and a weird looking face. So anyways, Vampire Splinter, he kind of looks like a vampire too. Vampire Splinter sells him drugs and he immediately runs into traffic.
Go on, get blissed out.
He slips and falls and hits his head on the curb and giggles about it. He thinks it's really funny. And I guess when you do this drug, Bliss, the new street drug in Washington, D.C., you don't feel pain anymore. That doesn't really matter to the plot, but they kind of make it a big deal.
Yeah, you're feeling no pain.
Meanwhile, the Planeteers are somewhere fixing their plane. It seems weird that they let these teenagers repair the plane. I don't like that. That doesn't seem like they should be doing that.
Wheeler, make sure the bolts are not loosening up.
I know someone who could use a little loosening up.
I heard that, Wheeler. Mati, double check all his bolts.
Oh, man.
So they fix their plane so that they can take Linka to DC to visit her uncle for a week. She's going to spend a week in DC with her Uncle Dimitri, who is voiced by Phil Hartman. It seems a little insensitive now to have Phil Hartman doing a voice in this particular episode, seeing how things turned out.
Okay, Linka. One of us will pick you up in a week.
So they drop Linka off. She visits her uncle. She sees her cousin, who she's apparently really close to, and blah, blah, blah.
Uncle Dimitri, it is so good to see you. And where is my favorite cousin, huh?
Boris, come see who is here.
Oh my God, it's the drug kid. Who could have seen that coming? Uncle Dimitri is gonna make them snacks. He's gonna make them blintzes. And they burn the kitchen down. That's 0 to 100, burn the kitchen down.
Ah! I will get the extinguisher.
Which, the craziest thing about that, to me, aside from just lighting the whole kitchen up in a huge fireball, nobody cares. No one gives a shit. They don't call the fire department. They just fuck off. They just leave. She blows out the fire with her ring. She has wind powers, by the way. I didn't mention that before.
What do we do?
Use baking soda and wind.
So Linka and her cousin Boris, I think that's his name, they leave to go get blintzes from somewhere else. That's all they care about is the blintzes. They don't care about that they just burn the house down. So they dip. I don't even know how they get on the subject, but Boris offers Linka drugs, which she turns down because she's a Planeteer. She's a good child and says, no, we don't do that. And then she takes his drugs and she throws him down the sewer, which pisses him off a lot. And what does he call her? He calls her a stupid cow for throwing his drugs down the sewer. He says, I needed that.
You stupid cow, I needed those.
And then he runs into traffic again.
Boris, come back.
Right back in front of the cars. It's a miracle that the drugs take him out and not the traffic. Spoiler alert. So he fucks off to go get more drugs because, you know, his stupid cow of a cousin threw his drugs down the sewer. So he has to go back and see Splinter again to get more. But he doesn't have enough money to buy more bliss. So he gets on his knees and asks for more the way a drug dealer knows how. Or the way a drug addict knows how. But that's not what happens. Splinter says he will give him more drugs if he hands over his Planeteer cousin.
You mean you know one of those Planeteers?
My cousin Linka.
Bring that girl to me and you'll have enough bliss to last you the rest of your life.
To which Boris says no, and then yes.
I love my cousin. I will never betray her to you.
Then go ahead and suffer.
So his plan to get his cousin handed over to Master Splinter is to lace her pierogi with drugs. He laces her food in a children's show.
Look, I brought you something.
Oh, you went for the blintzes.
Okay, then we fast forward a week, and the Planeteers are all together again, except for Linka. They all forgot about Linka. They said, wait, weren't you supposed to pick her up? No, I thought you were picking her up. And they realized that they left her there.
Isn't Linka with you?
We thought she was coming back with you. We didn't hear from her all week.
Whoops. And then I don't know why, maybe I missed it. Why do they check in on DC? Why do they say, let's check the CCTV and see what's going on in Washington, DC?
I think because Whoopi Goldberg came in.
Oh yeah, that's right. Whoopi shows up and says, DC's gone to shit, you guys. I don't know what happened, but while you were gone, it got bad down there.
Something terrible is happening in Washington.
Man, what went down on that street?
What went down, Wheeler, was people's self-respect.
The Planeteers kind of don't really care, but then Whoopi says you should care because your homegirl's down there. You might want to go check on that.
It's horrible. But why an eco-alert? Is this pollution?
It's the most insidious kind of pollution. These kids are polluting their minds and bodies with drugs.
Another thing that we see in the CCTV footage, I guess, is the drugs instantly transform people into junkies. Immediately. They put the drug in their mouth, they're a junkie. Which isn't funny that they're junkies. It's not, that's sad. It's just funny the way they show it. And also on the CCTV footage, Splinter like explains his plan, says it out loud. You know, that thing the bad guys do, they just say their plan out loud. And even then, I don't really get it. I don't know what his plan is. They bring him stuff. The junkies bring him like car radios. I don't know what he's gonna do with a car radio.
First, I take your town's wealth and health, and then I get the rest of the world hooked on bliss. And I'll be the only one who can still think straight.
I guess the plan is for everyone to be hooked on bliss except for him. So he's the only sane one in the whole city. Weird plan, but okay. So the Planeteers arrive in DC and they compare drug addiction to slavery, which feels weird to me. I'm not going to dive deeper into that. I just wanted to point it out. They did that.
What's this man? He looks sad. That's President Lincoln. Long ago, he freed the slaves and paid with his life.
Maybe he is sad, seeing his people now enslaved by drugs.
So I guess Splinter sicks the crowd of zombie drug addicts on them, and they try and burn them. They try and set them on fire first. That's their first instinct as heroes. Set the druggies on fire, which doesn't do anything to them. They can't be burned. They're impervious to fire magic. And this is when we find out that Linka is in fact one of them now. She's a drug addict, which I think is pretty obvious. When he gave her the sandwich laced with drugs, we know that this immediately turns people into junkies. I wasn't surprised. You probably weren't either. But the Planeteers were very shocked by this news.
Linka! No!
And then she pops pills on camera. Again, lots of pill popping on camera. They're really showing the kids how it's done.
Linka! Help us call Captain Planet!
Oh, you're just trying to bring me down.
And then again, the Planeteers attack the drug addicts. As heroes, they attack them with their superpowers. And then they kidnap Linka. And I just want to point out that I really like the sound that the Earth Ring makes. I think that's a really cool sound.
Earth!
I guess another side effect of this drug is that Splinter like controls them. He tells them to do things and they do it.
After them, you addicts.
Huh? What if someone else gives them the drugs? What if they buy the drugs from a different drug dealer? Does that dealer have control over them? They didn't do enough research on how drugs work for this. Anyways, the next thing they do is they storm the Capitol. That's another one I'm just going to leave alone. I'm just going to foreshadowing. Meth heads running up in the Capitol building. Who could have seen that coming?
They couldn't leave the capital unprotected.
Why is it when the city's under siege by zombies, you can never find a cop?
So the Planeteers run into the Capitol building and they take this tiny little stick and they shove it in the door and they say, "That'll hold them."
That should hold them.
I don't know. I thought that was really funny. Of everything they could have blocked the door with, they took the tiniest little broomstick they could find and they said, "That'll hold them." Okay. And then Linka does more drugs, in case you didn't see it the first 6 times. And then Wheeler, the fire kid, he takes a weird dig at the vice president. I don't know what that's about.
Oh no, she's gone! Okay, Wheeler, think. If you were a zombie, where would you be? The vice president's office!
Who was vice president? Who was vice president at the time when this episode came out? Editor, tell us who the vice president was, and was that a funny joke? So anyways, the cousin tries to come in the window, but the Human Torch stops him. He won't let Linka open the window for her cousin.
How could you help him? Don't you know what they'll do to us?
Whatever, that doesn't stop the cousin from getting in. He just dives through the window. He jumps through the window, glass everywhere, splats on the ground, and he starts bleeding out. He is gushing blood. It's everywhere. There's so much blood.
I'd like to note that the animator wasn't sure how graphic it would be, so in about 4 or 5 different frames, he switched from red blood to green blood.
Yeah, the blood changes color a few times. It goes from red to green, back to red, back to green again, back to red again. It's really weird. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they just like ran out of red paint, or if like the censors said you can't show that much blood. The drugs are fine, but you can't show that much blood. That'll traumatize the kids. Which, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. This episode was, as far as I can tell, was banned from TV. Maybe that's why more people talk about the AIDS one and not this one, because more people remember the AIDS one. And I don't know why this one specifically was banned. Probably the drugs, but maybe the blood. As we know from the Gargoyles video, which was a recent video I uploaded recently, not 5 years ago, that was banned because of too much blood. So finally the zombies break into the Capitol building. I said zombies, I meant drug addicts. They break into the Capitol building. So the Planeteers escape to the roof. That's the only place left for them to go. They're swarmed. They run to the roof. And when they get up there, Splinter has used his drug money to buy a helicopter, so he's hovering around up on the roof. He says, I got bliss for whoever takes out the Planeteers, and Boris is like, ooh, me, gimme. So he throws a whole bottle of bliss to Boris, and he says, yeah, drugs, So he starts taking the whole bottle. Don't clip that. He takes all the drugs, and Linka grabs the bottle. She says, no, you can't take all those drugs. I want some of the drugs too. But before she's able to take any of the drugs, Boris goes, and he fucking dies.
Boris? Boris, what is wrong? Bliss killed him.
He just falls over and fucking dies. Moment of silence for Boris. Okay, that's it. Finally, the Planeteers decide to call Captain Planet. We've made it this whole episode. All this shit's happening. No one called Captain Planet. Now, it's a little bit weird to me how the Planeteers' powers work. They can call Captain Planet. There's real superhero. Because the kids, they're not the superheroes. They just have the rings that they can use to call the actual superhero. But for this to work, all of the Planeteers have to be together. They have to be alive. They have to have their rings. Like, what if one of them leaves their ring at home? What if it falls off? What if it falls in the toilet and they flush it? Now what? Captain Planet's gone forever. I think that's a weird way that these powers work. It's not very effective when you find yourself in a situation like this and you can't actually get the guy there who can actually do something. Because when Captain Planet shows up, he fixes his shit right away. Immediately, problem solved.
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet!
Go Planet!
Captain Planet makes like a fire tornado, burns up all the drugs and the recipe for the drugs that Splinter has, and then he takes Splinter and chucks him out of his helicopter, tosses him out.
I'd like to add that that's a much better ending for the antagonist than how Boris died.
That's true. Yeah, the bad guy, I mean, he didn't die. He got thrown from a helicopter. That
landed safely in a river.
He landed safely in a river. And Boris fucking died. So the day has been saved. Everyone's off bliss now, but they're all experiencing withdrawals, including Linka. What do they say? It's something about withdrawals are the worst pain you could feel. And she says, it's not as painful as losing my cousin.
It's okay to cry. They say withdrawal is the worst kind of pain.
Yet, it is not as bad as losing Boris.
And then we end the episode with a don't do drugs PSA. As if the whole episode wasn't a don't do drugs PSA. We got a don't do drugs PSA.
Some drugs are good for you, but many can be harmful.
Only use medicine you get from your doctor or your parents.
And they tell you it's fine to take the drugs that your doctor gives you, like fentanyl and all these other addictive opioids.
OxyContin.
Yeah, oxys. Go ahead, take that. Your doctor gave it to you. A-okay. Don't smoke crack, though. That's bad. That kind of made it sound like I'm okay with people smoking crack. Don't smoke crack or take oxys. It's all bad. Don't do that. And then Captain Planet says if you have a drug problem, get help.
And if you've got a drug problem, get help. You can choose not to take drugs. The power is yours.
You're a crackhead, right? You're sitting at home smoking crack. And you watched this entire episode of Captain Planet and you saw the PSA. Do you think anybody out there decided to put down the pipe because Captain Planet told them to get help? So that's that. That's the drug overdose episode of Captain Planet. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I enjoyed it so much, it took me 5 years to make the video. I actually wrote a lot of this script in 2020 and then never filmed this. I forgot. Sorry about that. But we're back now, and I'll see you next time. Yay!
I'm over here stroking my
Big.